Where am I going?
It's just gonna sit there. It'll. I can follow you.
No. Okay, I've had many of you, well, several of you, have been next to me when I sell books. Many of the people I have sold books with have been upset with me because I don't sit down. I don't sit there and let people pass me. I make sure they know I'm selling books. Okay?
Exactly.
I really do.
Yes.
I do that.
Yes, she does.
That's good.
If you don't stop them, they'll never look. And that's what I do is books, see? Books. And most of you have been next to me, and I have been frowned at a lot, but I don't care. I've also been scolded for going outside of my table.
Yes.
Have the harassment charges dropped off lately?
They got upset with me.
Yeah.
Early questions. How long have you been bold like this with that
I
personality?
wasn't bold. I was very shy when I started, and then I saw Joe Tennis selling book after book, and I saw him do it this way. I said, "This is what I'm doing."
Exactly.
I really don't know, but they thought I was grabbing people and keeping them from walking by.
Right.
No, I wasn't.
It's not that she goes and gets people. It's she'll go down the hall out of sight, and all of a sudden the person that you've seen in the morning, she comes back with.
Yeah.
And there is a question that we joked about one time that she might have followed them to their house and had breakfast with them.
If they're willing, I am, so it's okay. If you want to buy a book, fine. And a lot of times, even if they don't buy a book, that's fine with me. Don't talk. And they'll be able to build that rapport. And the next time they see me, they might buy that book.
That's true.
So it works, and it really does. Of all the things I saw on the internet, the only one that really was good was an Operapedia. And it's telling you to do what I do. And not quite as boldly. But I do it. But I'm glad I do it because I have been very lucky to sell my average book sales, because I do a lot of book selling at Food City. And my average sales there are about $20 each time, 20 books each time I go.
Right.
And that's a lot of books.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I went there one time and sold 63, and you could have picked me up right off the floor.
All-time record.
So what was different that time with the 63?
One lady bought 46.
Really? 6 bucks?
Wow.
Big fan.
I
Wow.
have no idea.
Well, that was at a beer festival. Not kidding.
You're supposed to tell the secrets. But it was, she came up and she was a younger lady, maybe early 20s, late 20s. She said, well, I like these books. I said, good. I said, what one do you want? She said, I want one of all of them.
Oh, wonderful.
Wow.
So I pulled them off, and I started signing the smaller books, the snooping books. And she said, I've got to go. I said, wait a minute, let me sign these. At least take these with you. She said, well, I'll be back in a little bit. Do you pick up the rest? She took 9 books. She paid for 46.
Oh, wow.
Cash.
Wow.
She went to the ATM and took it out.
Nice.
Now, that really shocked me. So I waited, and she never came back for the books.
Oh.
I left them with Food City. And I said, it's a young lady, I don't know her name. She paid me cash, so there was no reason for me to know her name. She never came back to Food City.
Oh.
Oh, wow.
So it's like if I ever see her again, I'm going to let her pick out her books,
Yeah.
and just go right on. Because
Could have been an angel.
I was what I was saying. She was a book angel.
It was amazing. But he did take the 9 small ones, the Snoopy books, and
Uh-huh.
but I'm sort of forced them to take those. I signed them all and handed them.
Wow.
That's something.
Yeah.
Wow.
But it was weird. I never had that happen before, and it was, I don't want it to happen again. Then I went to another one in Bristol. Very tall lady, big lady. I mean, she wasn't fat or anything. She was just big built. Okay, but she was very tall, dark hair. Didn't know her name either. She paid cash, and she bought 5 of them, and she left them at the checkout.
Oh.
So they come trotting over to me, and I got them in the vehicle. If she ever shows up, I got them.
Nice.
Oh, and it's like, oh, that's bad. And it's bad when that happens. Okay, now how many of you have had the fortune of sitting next to me? So you know how I am. Not all there, okay? So you know how I do when I go out and I really do speak to anybody that walks by the table. If I'm not speaking, I don't feel good. That's it, you know.
Yeah.
But I was taught, and you have to stop them. They'll never look at your book.
No.
And it's like, well, especially if you're with a bunch of other book writers,
Right.
they have certain ones they're going to go to automatically, okay, because they know you. But if you don't show them that you also have books, they'll never look at yours either.
Right.
And I've seen many people walk right on my nose and
Oh, yeah.
and those are the ones I know.
Yeah.
Love those.
Yes. Some that just try to avoid, and maybe if we don't look, they.
It doesn't work with me because I'll say, hi!
I just said, do you need a book today?
Would you like to read? Do you know how many people tell you that?
Oh, a lot.
I know a lot of people.
A lot.
Say that.
They will say that. They will also say, I can't read. And they're going by reading the newspaper.
Oh.
Yeah, but I know. I bet you can't. But you get all kinds of weird comments, but that's okay. They'll come back.
Yeah.
I'll see them again.
I like it. Someone said, I quit reading. You said, that's a good time to start up again.
Yeah. I love that.
And you get all kinds of snarky responses.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, you do.
Now I'm not anti-religious or anything, but so help me. If I say, would you like to read a good book? I have one at home.
Uh-huh.
I didn't write that one.
Yeah.
I'm old, but I'm not that old.
You don't have this one.
That one can get me started. And believe me, it's like, there are other books in the world, people. I know. But I don't let it bother me too much. Until it's one right after another. That happens in Richmond.
What,
Yeah.
people don't read in Richlands?
No, they only read the Bible.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I live there. They don't act like it.
That's what they do.
They read it, they just don't absorb it.
No, that's what they're telling me. I only read the Bible.
Well, that was actually good for me because most of my stories are Bible based. So when they would say that, I'd say, perfect, here they are. I know.
How about reading Matthew, Mark, Luke, and Linda?
That's a good one.
You can use that one.
So y'all know how to sell your books, but do you get up and move?
Oh, yeah.
No, I don't.
Do you play with your cell phone?
No.
No.
Well, I saw a couple of writers that did that. And
Uh-huh.
so help me, I wanted to go over and smack.
Yeah.
If nobody's around.
Yeah, a couple of them did that last year at the Highlands Festival, and each day I would try to come by and say hello if I wasn't there. And I went over to a couple of them and I said, if you don't engage people, they won't buy your book. You know,
That was good.
and I, I just said, you've got to bring them in. You can't just sit here and think that millions of people are coming to buy your book, because it won't happen.
No,
You have to tell them about it and tell how it came to be and let them get to know you.
Okay, now what kind of places do you guys like to go to sell your books?
We've been to museums before, and that's worked out good.
Yeah, museum. And I help my friend at a coffee shop. That works out good because we get a lot of tourists in. So that works out really good too. When I'm not back in the back doing something and can't, dressing.
Right.
And historical festivals.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like festivals.
Yeah, you're in a niche where you can sell at historical festivals. I'm not. No. And I only read history. Sorry, I don't write history. I don't write history.
So you can say this murder is going to make history. You need to
But I do like festivals, but I want them to be a multitasking festival, not just history or fantasy, which I don't write.
Mm-hmm.
I do write, occasionally I'll write a romance, and I consider that totally fantasy.
Yeah, I'm from a river town, so a lot of times we'll have the boats come. And I always do a period dress, and I'll be there at the levee when they come in. And that's been a good
I bet that
good
is.
sort. You get them come off the boat. And
Yeah.
I'll be back in a minute. Some of them do, some of them don't.
Right.
But
And I just think it depends on what you write.
Yeah, it does.
I just did an event at a church. And so it was perfect for me because of what I write. And, we just had a great day. And so it does just depend on what you write and where you're going to find your audience.
yes, that's
Yeah.
true.
Now, I write a multitude of genres. I have mysteries, which I do love to
I love
do, and that's
mysteries.
fiction.
Yeah.
I have nonfiction,
Poetry.
which I will do when forced.
One of the things I noticed, and I was really impressed with this, all joking aside, you talk to the person and within 2 sentences you land them on a book. I notice you don't try to sell them your entire library.
No.
You always pull one book aside and you'll sell them that one book based off of 2. If you write enough that you have enough that you can pull one that generally, and to me that was very impressive.
Yes.
And I
I
applaud.
like that, yeah.
Yeah, I do have the mysteries and the nonfiction. I also do an awful lot of short stories. And a lot of people want the short stories now because they don't have time for the novel.
Right.
In sales, you land them in car sales, that you would land them on a vehicle instead of trying to sell them the car lot and let them pick
Right.
themselves. You match them. You're a matchmaker.
I went through this car sale business four days in the month of March. My son and I went car shopping because my car, they wouldn't put a sticker on it anymore. Had for 21 years. So, we went car shopping. And if they were aggressive and coming at me, oh, you need this, you need that, and I said, if it doesn't fit the area that I can pay for it, no, I don't need it. And I went to the 4th one, I finally found it, and now it's a van. I have a little van, and I am tickled to death.
Good.
I can put all my books in
Yes.
That's perfect.
Yes.
All those books you have.
But
And I have Afghans too in there.
Uh-huh.
Is that something you learned to do, the conversation, or is that something that you just innately have? Where where you picked it up, and you know in your mind what book you wrote to Landon.
It's, if I see that person and they tell me that they don't read mysteries, well, that ain't gonna work. You get a lot of people that want only nonfiction. So I'm glad I have some nonfiction. It's not my favorite, but I'm glad I have it. And then some that are too busy to read, so then you steer them towards the short stories.
Right.
Because you can read a short story. I call them my bathroom books. I can read a short story in the bathroom, you know? And that's what I tell people. You know, it's good. And then I have poetry, and believe me, in this area, that doesn't fly.
No.
Okay?
No, it doesn't.
But every once in a while, about one, I guess I might sell one poetry book every couple of weeks. That's good. That is phenomenal for this area.
That's knowing your area, right?
It is. Especially around Tazewell, where nobody reads poetry.
What's your favorite to write yourself? About your
Fiction. I like to do mysteries.
you like fiction? Okay.
Yeah. They're my favorites because I can use my imagination and I do not have to stick with the truth. Sometimes the truth is hard.
Yes.
Talk about with a new reader that you don't know. What's your favorite to talk about?
I show them my bestseller.
Okay.
Okay? My best-selling book is called The Backwoods House.
Mm.
That's a lot of that one's true, but I'm not going to tell you what it is, except that the house is real. Right across the street from where I live.
Yeah.
And it stood empty for years. And as soon as I got that book published, somebody moved into the house. And on the back of my book, I told them it was right opposite of where I live. Well, people knew where I lived. A lot of them did, so they would go by and point it. Scared her to death. So I took her book. I said, this is why they're doing it. She was gone at about 6 weeks later. And now there's another girl there, and she doesn't care. But it was funny how that one worked out. I was like, oh no, I scared that poor girl to death.
Is it a rental house? Is it a rental house or somebody bought it?
Actually, the church owns it. And she is a teacher now for the children in the church. So it worked out real well for her. But the one before that, I don't think she was even in the church and they rented it to her. But she got scared with all the people
Pointing at the
The
house.
ghost in the house.
Yeah.
And a quilt book I got from my sister. She's a quilter. And she goes, Penny, I don't know. I'm pretty scared of this book. I said, you know, just let me start reading it. I said, and she started reading it, and she came and she goes, I can't read it. I'm too scared.
It has nothing to do with quilting, is all I can say. Nothing to do with quilting. Yeah.
Did you read it?
I read, yes. And I tell you, I like things like that, though.
I do.
We have Thomas the dog in ours. Of course, he's our ghost dog. So he's my 5th great grandfather coming back as a Great Pyrenees.
Oh, wow.
So,
But when I wrote Quilted Memories, I was just looking at that house saying, I gotta put something in that house. Nobody's living there.
oh God,
I did.
I love it.
Now, there were some true, actual things that happened in that book. The house is real. The little dog that I have in the book, her name was Nikki. She was about this big. And she was a Chihuahua, and she was real. And I would take her over there and turn her loose and swear it down. I was chasing the dog. But I've done some weird things in writing my books, and I'm glad. And you can get ideas from anything. Any part of life can give you something to write about.
Oh yeah.
And people don't realize that. It's there.
Well, some of them is really scary. I know the one where you're on the road and run off the road and you're by yourself. It's like, oh my gosh, that's a scary one.
Yeah.
That's a scary one.
I pushed up daisies like that because
Yeah.
the bad guy really gets it.
We're gonna quit telling somebody might want to bump it.
All right, other than going to festivals, what else do you go to? I can tell you what you shouldn't go to. One of the biggest flops I ever went to was the Tazewell County Fair.
Oh.
I was outside in a tent. Everybody went by and waved. No one looked at a book. They did not. And they're not there to read. They're there to play.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. I almost went to a fair too, and
Yeah.
I didn't go.
That's like our Trail Days festival that's coming up, and several people will, get tents and things and do that, and they never do well because that's not why the people are there for the Trail Days festival.
Yeah, I went there one time, set up, and goodness, I couldn't even give them away.
No,
It was awful.
That's not why they're there.
That's
you know.
And
So
if they are part of it, if they're walkers and traveling up and down,
right.
they're not going to hand a book to their load.
No.
They're not. So,
Good point.
yeah. So
Libraries are terrible.
Libraries are
libraries,
terrible.
They're there to borrow books.
Yes,
buy
not buy them. Mhm.
But you can build up a rapport with the people, so when they see you out somewhere else, they'll log and buy one. But usually it's a waste of time.
Mhm.
And I've been there, done many of them, and I keep hearing people, have you been to such and such library? Not recently.
When you went, Linda, did you have other authors there too?
No, it was just
See,
me.
the one I go to, Gloucester Library in Galveston, Ohio, it was a very good, successful.
Yeah, you can
But
if you
we
have
had
several.
we had
Yeah.
probably people from Cincinnati and the Ohio area.
Yeah.
So that worked out good. But just to take your book,
To set up by
Yeah.
yourself.
Right.
Is what I've done.
Yeah.
Now, what I've also done, and it's good in the libraries, and it's very good, is talk to their writers groups.
yes,
Yes.
I went to the one in Whitfield, and I really wasn't expecting much out of that one because, I always ask them if I can sell my books after I taught. Oh, yeah, you can, but usually you don't.
No.
I think I sold about 12 that day.
Wow.
You talk about somebody who was ready to crawl under the table, You're kidding. And I was. And I was amazed. But they were good people. They were interested in what I had to say because they were all writers or beginning to write.
Okay.
It's the beginners that I like to encourage because I'll encourage anybody to write.
Mhm.
Me too.
Dave does too.
Okay, now have you tried malls?
No.
Don't.
Don't do mine.
That's what say it's been years because theirs have been closed for a decade.
I have gone to malls, different ones to sell at. They will charge you an enormous price,
Right.
and you're going to lose your shirt for it. You're just not going to do it. Because even if you have several there, you're not going to sell anything. Because that's not what, they're there to get their clothes or their whatever. And they don't want to be bothered with a book.
It's walking on by.
And stores, you've got different things that if you go to maybe a coffee shop that people come into and not drive by.
Right.
Don't go to a drive-by, you'll never see a person again.
No.
No, one,
Now, if you go to Dunkin' Donuts, they don't go in there, they just drive by.
Right.
Which is great for people who are working, but if you're trying to sell a book, it doesn't work.
No.
Blackbird Bakery used to have writers come in there and sell books,
Mhm.
but I noticed they put the drive-through in.
Yeah.
There's nobody inside.
No, they haven't done that in a while.
Darn it, that's a loss there. Perkins Pancake House used to let us come in,
Yes.
but I'll tell you why they won't do it anymore. Someone, I think it was in Nebraska or Iowa, part of the white supremacist group wanted to do what we do. They wanted to hand out their literature. That stopped all of us.
no kidding. It's bad.
Yeah.
It was. And I can understand their problem with that, so,
But
I'm
that was
sorry.
a really nice venue.
It was a
It
good one.
was
But
nice.
things have gotten, sideways because of other
Mm-hmm.
actions.
What about bookstore, like Books a Million? Will they let you do that?
Usually not.
No,
They don't?
No, usually not.
No.
Your,
Books a
Books a
Million.
Million.
And Barnes and Noble.
Barnes and Noble, we don't.
Barnes and Noble in Johnson City used to, but I don't think they're doing that anymore.
I did
Yeah,
that,
they will.
Are they?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I did that in Johnson City at Barnes and Noble, and no, I sold some, but not enough to be worth the trip. It took me 2
Yeah,
hours to
yeah.
get
There's a thing now that you can do. You can host a virtual book signing now, but it's really just kind of like a Q&A with the authors, even if you're a smaller author. You go to barnesandnoble.com, you can search it, and it'll match you up to like your local bookstore.
You can have one. You don't
I know, but I don't like those.
No, I've never done anything like that.
I'm gonna look into it because
Yeah,
it
let
seems
me
kind of
know.
interesting.
I would like to do something like that, but
Yeah,
if
where
it
you do it.
requires Zoom, that may not happen, but I have very bad Zoom.
Yeah, your Zoom is sketchy.
Yes, it is. So I have a problem with that.
No, I'm good, thank you.
Now, all kinds of people, want to give you something. Now, I have candy, I always have candy, I have suckers for the kids and
Yes.
salt peppermints for the adults.
Right.
Ugly, no, I can't hand
And
it
what
out.
you get when you ask for your bill?
Wait just a minute.
Luckily, it was butter knife.
It's funny.
Okay.
Many people do bookmarks and they do other things that they give away. I have a ton of bookmarks at home and I don't do anything with them. I don't have room for them on my table. I have 2 large racks full of books and there's very little space left, so.
Ours is you get a bookmark if you buy it.
Yeah, I just want to get rid of the bookmarks. I take all them off,
Yeah.
I've had them for years.
Well, no, ours are new.
Please take
It's
them.
a real lot of money on it, so we
Put your
know.
own information on it, or do you think if it was just something pretty that you had made up that they would?
Oh, no, well, I put something on, about one of my books on it. Especially my
That's what I
newest
do.
one, Whatever that is, and I'm gonna get some made.
Yeah, I have a bookmark for each of my books.
Oh, okay.
And then you put the personal information on there so they can get a hold of you if they want that book, so, and they walk away.
Now, but you give them if they buy a book.
Yeah, I give them if they want one.
You just give them if they want it. You just give a bookmark,
Yeah.
kind of like a.
We give ours away too.
Yeah, and we give them
Yeah.
away sometimes, along with business card. We'll sometimes give them away, because both information's on there.
Okay, some people do giveaways, which is what that is, but they also do postcards. And they will do the bookmarks hand over fist. I can do all of it, but in most cases I don't have it for it. So I do my candy, and if you're not happy with candy,
Yeah.
Yeah, we scanned it, that's it.
I'm like you. I used to do a lot more, but space is a huge issue when you go to these events, and you have to leave room to be able, if someone does buy, to sign it and put it in their bag and give it to them, and so I don't do a whole lot of that. I always have candy.
And I've discovered that if you lay your books flat on the table, which I have done in many a case, that doesn't draw them.
No.
They need to be up in a stand of some, or even if you open your book and just let it stand on its own. Yeah, because there are certain people that will look at eye level only. So you gotta put your books that you wanna sell where they can see it. Except for the poetry, and I always put it on the top because I hope somebody will buy it. And I do that, and I should be ashamed of myself, but I'm not. The biggest mistake you can have behind that table is playing with your cell phone. Or hours.
No, that's a no-no.
Oh, and it's Now, I check my cell phone just to see if anything new has occurred. I have family that's sick and I'm going, I don't want to look. But I will.
Right.
So, but I'll check on it. Or not talking to people. That's a mistake. You have to talk. I have stood many a time in front of somebody listening to their life history.
Yes.
Many times.
Yes.
And I keep saying, please, somebody come up behind me, please.
There you go.
I'll turn around. Oh, you want a Bible? They finally get the hint. But I don't mind talking to them. I just can't spend an hour doing it.
Right.
You know? And I do talk to a lot of people. And if I ever, one of these days, write the stories down, they're going to be shocked. Woo, I get them all. Now you gotta know that every time you talk to somebody and you haven't insulted them or made them mad, which I have done on occasion, they will tell somebody else that you're a nice person and go over there and talk. Not always, but sometimes you might get somebody else coming over that way. Do you ever tell somebody that you don't like to go away? I have. I have. Go away. Leave me alone. I've had some real winners. I really have. And then I have all those. Now I'm 76. Okay. I have all of the little old men who are doddering along, standing in front of me. Are you married? Are you married? Oh no!
Not to you anyway.
And I get along with that. And it's like, okay, you're nice, but go away.
That's my work.
How many books are you gonna buy, sir? Then we'll talk.
And I have actually sold them a couple of books just to get them out. Gotta buy a book. It's funny. I've had some really strange experiences, guys, and I wouldn't give it up for anything. That's the only way. I'm a widow. I live alone. It's the only way I see people. So if I don't go out and sell books and talk to everybody that goes by, I don't see anybody. Yeah. Now my kids will show up once in a while. My youngest one's gotten to be a pain, but the oldest one I see him only on special occasions. We just had him there. I just had him there Sunday to celebrate my youngest son's birthday. And it was like, wow, you're all here. But my youngest one will show up, and when he shows up, it's
Looking for money? Yeah, oh yeah.
and it's like, oh gee, can't you come and see me without that handout? No, he can't. But that's all right. He's just barely getting by. So I have had many experiences, and I can tell you of the stuff that I had. The one that is doing you any good would be the author media. It's got some good information in it.
It does.
The second one is face-to-face selling. It's telling you basically how to do it, but it's business related. More business people, more like something that you would do.
Boring stuff.
Yeah. And the third one is just a little conversation thing. It's called Selling Old School Selling. And basically it's telling you what happened, what you can do, and how you can set up your table and things like that. Now me, I don't have any choice. I have two big racks and I have a little space in the middle about a 6-foot table. If you give me a 5-foot table, I don't have that space in the middle. If you give me a 4-foot table, I'll tell you to take it back because I can't use it. I cannot use a 4-foot table.
All right.
I have two big racks and they will not fit there.
Sorry about that, guys.
That's all right.
My son got in a nest of wood ticks.
Oh,
Oh,
And
wow.
getting them off of him. It was
not good.
no.
So I have done a lot of strange things selling books and I love to do it. But now my biggest problem is I drive a lot because I go to the different food cities. And I try to keep it all within a 100-mile radius, you know, so that's a 2-hour drive. I can tolerate that. Anything more than that, I'm not happy. So, I've added another 10 miles to it. And now I can go to some of the food cities in Johnson City that I couldn't go to. Because I live in Tazewell. That's not near anything.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
So you gotta start out driving at least 40 or 50 miles. You know that's guaranteed, okay? And then I go on to other bigger places that might have more than one traffic light in it.
Is that your most successful, is the food cities?
That's where I go. And I will go every weekend if they let me.
Okay.
So it's,
What?
Food City.
Yeah, but why they,
Why there?
I mean, why do people plan?
I don't really know. They will come in. I'm usually in the front where people entering the store. Now, I don't approach them when they're coming in. I only approach them when they're going out. Because I don't want to, they may not have enough money to grocery shop and buy books. Okay? So I don't do that until they're ready to go.
You sell a lot of cookbooks there?
Yeah, that's where I sell all the cookbooks, just
I
found.
bet.
That's good.
I bet.
They're already in,
That's great.
mentally, they're already in the consumer mindset. So you're just giving them another option.
Yeah.
It's not like you're at a festival and you're not at the movies trying to get them to buy something.
Yeah.
So at Food City, and that's why I'm surprised malls don't work. People
Yeah, they
don't.
don't work, but Food City does. Because they're so attractive.
People don't go to the
on-
grocery store to hang out.
Yeah.
People are going to the grocery store with the intent for
Yeah,
to buy
Walmart,
something.
outside Walmart would be a
They
better.
won't let you.
Yeah, well,
Those savages.
they have their own stuff.
Well, you can rent a space inside. No, I'm not.
No.
Linda, is there a favorite food city that's worked best for you, or the ones in the region?
Yeah, I guess the ones up towards Galax and Redford in that area, I originally didn't do well, but then once I got used to me, I did okay. The people say, "Oh, you were here not too long ago." No, I was here. Yes, I was, and then they'll get another one. But I do better up in that area. Now I tell you one that I don't do well in, and it really aggravates me. It's Abingdon.
Yep.
I was gonna ask you, it seems like that'd be a natural, you know.
Yeah, you'd think so, but it's not. I will sell enough to pay for my trip there. That's about it. And it's, but it's not a very lucrative spot to go.
No.
And the ones that I do sell the most, they're all out Route 58, alternate 58, Big Stone Gap,
Yeah.
in that area, all those.
Yeah.
So
They don't have much else to do but read.
No, they don't. And I've always said this one at Grundy, I do well in bandstand. Those people don't have anything to spend their money on.
No.
So they buy books. They do. Always have.
Do you have, okay, say I bought one of your mysteries at Food City, and then I come to Food City like maybe a month later. Do they want to follow up in that same line, or do you have like repeat customers on your books?
I have repeat customers, but I tell everyone, if you want to know when I'm going to be here next, check my website. Vicky puts it on my website for me. So
Okay.
it's there.
So, okay.
Yeah, so they know when I'm coming, because it's not guaranteed I will be here next month. Usually it's about every 2 or 3 months.
And do some of them say, have you written a new book?
Oh, yeah.
I'll bet you get that repeat customer.
Get that a lot.
Yeah.
So, boy, you scramble around and let's get something made here. And I go, this is my newest, this is my next to the newest.
And you need them both.
Can't live without them, guys.
That's nice. Have you ever done the consignment at
Yeah.
White's Mill?
No, but I've done consignment.
I've done consignment.
I buy books when I go to White's Mill.
I won't do consignments anymore because I left about 45 books in a bookstore in West Virginia. They closed.
Oh, my.
All my books went wherever, I don't
Yeah.
know where, but they closed. I lost.
Secondhand market.
Oh, my.
Aggravated me to death, and I have put them in different places. And when you go back
have
and
too.
check, the books aren't there, but then there's no money either. So you don't know what happened there.
Right.
And so I just don't do consignment anymore.
Yeah.
I can, I've been told I need to.
Oh,
No.
Where are places like besides Whitefield that you would do consignments?
There were several, some of the thrift stores, okay, between Friends and Tazewell. I put my books in there originally. And she buried them in the corner, in the back, where there wasn't a
Oh,
light.
jeez.
And she wondered why they didn't sell. And I said, because you need a candle to go see what's there. She didn't like that. So she said, well, you need to take your books out. And I said, I will. And I never stepped foot back in that store again.
We did the breaks, and we also did Big Walker Mountain. And,
Now, is that just selling on site or is that consignment?
well,
For
we
Big Walker?
did the selling.
Big Walker will buy them.
Yeah, her name was Heather, and she bought
She
them.
buys them from you,
Yeah,
so
she
you
does.
don't have to worry about
Yeah,
that.
Tom Perry told us about her, and we really need to go pay her a visit. when we're
Yeah,
done.
you do.
Yes,
You
we
need to
do.
get on the schedule too.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you do.
Yeah.
That's Heather, right?
Heather.
Heather, yeah, her name's
Her,
Heather.
her mother just passed away about 6 months ago.
Oh.
She's still having a hard time.
She's a sweet lady. We
She
really
is.
had the best time there.
So I'm the one you can ask, have you done this before? Yeah, I have.
Yes.
And I have. And a Big Walker, I recommend Big Walker. You may not have a totally wonderful selling day, but you will sell some, as long as you talk to people.
Yeah.
It's Big Walker Lookout, it's on top of a mountain in Winfield.
Oh,
Off the interstate.
It is,
77.
Yep.
and it's a good one.
Yes, we really enjoyed it.
Now, I also do other things besides the books. I design and make angel afghans, and I sell them at Big Walker also. Sometimes if I don't sell a lot of books, somebody will buy an afghan and I'm happy.
Yeah, we do too.
Of course, I don't sell them for a lot of money, so that's why they sell. Same way with the books. I sell my books for $10 each, and that's it.
That's good.
And that's why I do sell more, because I keep the price.
Sorry.
Anyways, anybody got any questions? I think you've already filled me out with
I
questions.
think we
Yeah, we
did.
did.
Yeah, I think
Sorry
we
about
did.
the interruptions.
I-
How long does it usually take you to write your average book?
If I was doing the small ones, I do cozy mysteries, it might take me 3 months at the most.
3 months a book? Okay.
If I'm doing one of the larger mysteries, 6 months to a year, it depends on what I'm writing about. If I do a true story, it may take me years. Sometimes you do have to take a while. So it really depends, and it also depends on whether I'm in the mood to do it or not.
Being the right mode.
If I'm not in the mood, I'm not gonna write. Wouldn't do me any good, you couldn't read it.
How many books do you have going on at any one time?
How many am I working on?
Yeah, working on.
One snooping book now, and I've got several true stories that are waiting on my floor for me to do. And I keep saying I'm gonna do that book, I swear I'm gonna do it.
Still waiting.
So do you write like simultaneously? Can you write cozy mystery at the same time? You're also, like maybe you write 2 hours on the cozy mystery and then, 4 hours later you're gonna write on your, you only do one work at a time?
One at a time.
I do that.
You only do one work at a time?
No, I do multiples.
Well, I can,
Yeah.
especially if it's a true story, I may have to wait, okay? So I will work on the mysteries, or I'll do the short stories. And maybe I'll throw in the poetry there. So, but, I can work on several things if I get my mind focused. You know, that's the hard part, is getting you focused on what you're working
I
on.
have colored notebooks when I'm working on books simultaneously. So that if I get a really good idea, I may not be sitting down to write, but I get a really good idea about that book over there. I grab that notebook and I'm jotting stuff down so I don't forget it. And, you know, and so I use colored notebooks to help me recognize which book I'm doing.
We're working on our first cookbook based on our historical trilogy by the Virginia lady. I did a little research. This says 16% of print books sold in America are cookbooks.
Yes.
I have no doubt about that, because that's all,
Yes.
there are days when all can sell are the cookbooks.
Yeah.
And it's like, don't you read anything else?
The Bible.
That's not a cookbook.
All right.
It's the cookbooks that I can't sell.
Well, we're hoping that's what will happen with ours too.
If I can sell a book, I know they'll look at, the ladies will look at the cookbook, and a lot of the men do too, which has surprised me, but they do.
You know, we
Well,
often
it's the pictures, so we don't have to read. It's the pictures, so we don't have to read.
Is that it? I don't have enough pictures in my books, I know.
Do you do your own photography for your books?
No,
Wait, no.
Vicky does.
Oh, but yeah.
What?
Photography, for those cookbooks, you do those.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, for the cookbooks, okay.
Cookbooks, the rest of, but she also does excellent covers. That's all I have heard lately. She's got the best covers. Buy the book.
She's a cover girl.
And she does good. She does wonderful
She
covers.
does. And I love her ideas too. So we went over there, you know, she was like, well, I think a blue would be, it's like, perfect.
Cover makes a difference too.
It does make a
I
difference.
always say pretty feathers makes a pretty bird.
All right, everybody else want anything else from me?
Thank you very much. It was excellent.
Thank you.
Now, I tell you, I worked a lot of hours getting all this together.